Cut to the chase here, Andy with wealthyfantasyfootball.com, and getting a correct, if you want to say, lineup that will get you some cash in the NHL first, and then we'll do the NBA. But I'm going to split this up here. As indicated there, the NHL will get into Fanduel. We'll do NBA on Draftkings because that's just where I prefer to play for a couple reasons. So we're going to go ahead and cut to the chase here with generating a lineup. As you can see, there are many options and features on the tool, but all we got to do is go to Lineup Optimizer and click on that. If you want to get this tool, of course, along with the free report, explain how to come up with watched players, desirable players for the day, to get the daily Fantasy Sports Daily algorithm set up, and basically teach you and coach you on how to be able to get these kind of plays to consistently win your games, to be in the top 10% that is, of people that win their games and their matchups rather than those losers. So just opt into that report by clicking below. So here I have generated a lineup based off the players that I've watched. And it's almost looking like a perfect lineup, except that there's one player here that we don't want. We'll just get rid of, the goalie for Ottawa. But otherwise, this is ready to rock and roll with $1,000 left over, nicely for us, already done, because I've already done the homework and research, which honestly didn't take not having to, because of running these things daily and kind of knowing the players no longer than about 20 minutes to do the research. So you'll find out how to do that in the free report and by getting the tool to help you. But so now that I've watched these players, I'm going to go ahead and, just to take another look at, we've got Aho and Teravainen, Carolina, which is kind of a good stack together, along with Kane at the wingers, with Oshie from Washington and Courtier, as I review. That's looking very nice. In fact, with these defensemen as well, Murphy and Goligoski from Arizona, it's a fine lineup there. And this guy is saving us a ton of money at only $3,500, but he's a decent, what I know is in my research, a floor play, which means that he gets blocks and a couple shots on goal per game. So it just means that he's going to get you at least a few points on FanDuel. And I'm not necessarily worried, by the way, about power play points because they don't add up to much on FanDuel. So I prefer playing there because the points just add up overall, though, to be more points than on DraftKings. So I'm going to switch up the goalie here to one who's got, according to basically as a main determining factor, whichever Vegas has the lowest implied projected point total versus that team, we're going to go with one of those guys. So here are our options. We could play Forsberg with Chicago. They're highly favored, as well as, any number of these guys. But since we have all this money left to spend, we may want to pick out a goalie that's team is highly favored, along with a great dash rank of 100. So we can go with the Washington goalie, and we'll just check to verify that he's starting and he's had recent nice performances. Just some of our reading and check on that on the dailyfaceoff.com. That's just how you check that before the faceoff starts, maybe an hour or so before the game, just to make sure. That's all you got to check on NHL, and save that. And I'm going to insert this easily into my lineup for the main slate today on Thursday. Now we want to walk ourselves over to the NBA, of which I have not done that kind of research. However, I'm going to show you how to do research for the NBA. How about that? So now going over to the NBA, I'll set my lineup using max 3, by default, like it says here, so we can see our projections there and look at the top players today in the NBA. So keeping that player projection, in mind, and our, and how that works, we're looking at some good matchups. Generally, you can check Vegas lines to verify. Well, looking for some good matchups, preferably maybe at home. If they're, like, for example, PF1 or Power Forward 1, we may just pass this guy up, unless he's really cheap, let's say. Let me switch this over to Draftkings, as we can indicate which one we want here, and since we're going to play on there for NBA. And with this particular tool or lineup, I have previously watched players from previous days, is what it is, because the players have been doing well and consistent, so that's why I have some previously watched players that are marked here in red already, so we can still continue to watch those plays as opposed to the NHL. If you like to compare, in a way, I don't continue to watch the same players from day to day, but in the NBA, it's pretty much fine because a lot of the elite players will have a good day no matter who they play. So the matchup day to day doesn't matter so much. What matters more then at that point is just the pricing, and if you want to pay up or pay down, and or fade or not fade, if you're playing perhaps in a tournament. So as we're waiting for this to pull up here, I'm going to go ahead and check out, as maybe as you probably can as well, a lineup to insert for yourselves here. But here are, to give you some ideas. Also, if you want to get the top watch players in mind, the most played players will be if you click on this button. You'll get the most watch players, at least on this site, as this is, probably 100,000 people on the site that use it, to get their best optimal lineups in. So you can rely on this as a sample, a larger sample size, actually, of the amount of players that are watched and will be played in the game. So that information you don't get anywhere else. So keep that in mind. But not considering that at this point in time, just try to get our overall research done real quick as we're considering the top plays to get an idea. Because on DraftKings, we can play a few guys from the same position. So it's not so much important by position that we evaluate, but more so, some of the best players, we try to get the best plays in because of the DraftKings lineup. That's why I like their lineup. So we can look at, like, here's a small forward one or shooting guard that we can play evidently on DraftKings for New Orleans versus the Lakers. That'll be an up-tempo game, high-paced, high-scoring. Along with Davis, I'm going to stay away from this one scenario because it's a slower-paced game. He's not at home, even though his usage and percentage is good. But we can look for plays elsewhere. See what else we got. We've got a starting player, Covington. He's not playing at home, but he's not exactly fresh either. He's been playing some minutes, it looks like, within the past 24 hours. So we won't do that either, as we'll work our way on down the line. Let's make sure we didn't miss anybody that was good. Probably not. So we'll just keep working on with. Or don't be afraid to go all the way down this list, to get to some of the yellow or red areas, indicating just simply that they don't have as good of matchups. Right in here, like, for example, Mario Chalmers. But I'm not going to worry about playing him as a second stringer, let's say. So moving on here. Caldwell Pope, he's not at home. New Orleans is at home in this game. So, but we can still play him as it has decent scoring and usage lately. So let's give him a watch. And his value is good at 5.11. So we can do that. We can also go with Cauley Stein because he's got good value, even though he's at a slower paced game, but he's at home. This may be his kind of game, that he can get some post-ups and some points down low and prevent some. And also, we've got Rondo playing well lately. He had a high point game of 57. Wow. We don't know if we can expect that, especially not in the game where he's actually not fresh, coming off of a game yesterday, it looks like. As I can see all this information on the spreadsheet, I don't have to go back and forth between sites and look at schedules and all these things. I can see everything right here. But we can look at, and I'm actually just experiencing a problem where it's not, this is just my internet. This is not a problem with this site at all. It's just a little problem with my internet. I thought it was going to continue on to see, but this gives you at least an idea of how to find players and research who you want to find and do that. So I'm going to try to get away from this screen. Maybe, no, it won't allow me to. I'll just check my connection one more time to see if I can improve it. And maybe it will. Now I can look on down the list here and find more guys. For today, how many games we got in the slate? It doesn't not looking very big. We got 6 games. That's not bad. I'm just looking for some guys that would be in favorable positions here, naturally. Well, if you want to make it a Scrubs and Duds night, we can do that with the Harden and anybody else we can find, perhaps. He's got a health concern. Brooke Lopez will keep working our way down. Embiid has been good, but he's played recently, like I said. That team has. Randall, you can't go wrong with the Lakers and they're running 25% usage, 5 value. This sticks out to me right here, almost a 6 value-wise center for Orlando. But you'd have to check to see, obviously, if Howard is playing. But he's put up the last few games, and almost 20 points a game, but not really. So, but I could see him playing some minutes to back him up. So we could, since we want to get some low-price guys, put him in there. And I accidentally pressed on the X there. We got to put, if we want to watch him, you just click on this, not the X. Don't click on the X. As this guy is not really a guy I'm looking for, though. I don't want to do that. So this is kind of a tough slate. There's tough matchups going on here, and some risk involved with all this. So I'm not seeing any clear must-play options, really, as you have to sort through a lot of guys. And so it's just not that easy of a night to contend with. So I'm trying to look for anybody else. Augustin. I mean, this could be a must-play. He is considered a point guard or shooting guard first in the depth chart. Last few games, he's been consistent and had a high of 47. So we'll watch him. Okay, and we got Aaron Gordon. Looks like he's back. Wow, and he's fresh and healthy. Nice. So some of these guys are probably, I bet you, lower-owned options that you could play and consider in many tournaments as well. And just to finish this up, let's look at the most watched players today. We'll get out of here. So most watched, you got Harden, Schroeder, and these guys, which don't affect us except maybe Caldwell. I'm not really going to fade him as one of the few options here that we really want to get our hands on, along with Randall. Davis, we want to try not to fade. Gordon, Moore. Well, some people were thinking the same as I am, but that's okay. So these are the players that are most watched today, and give some of those guys at the top a try. And Blake Griffin I still have watching versus Houston, as he might get up for this game and have a good one. So that's what I want you all to do. Have a good one.